Okay, you should have this packet in front of you. Notice at the top that this is section 2.3. Those fun word puzzles we were working on yesterday, we will come back to those once I am back next week. I didn't want to send you too far down the rabbit hole with me not there. So we're going to go ahead and do some notes on something and some examples here on something a little different before coming back to that. So we're going to talk about Venn diagrams, which is a useful way of organizing information. So these are what Venn diagrams look like. They look like some circles joined in different ways. And let's talk about what they mean. So this first box, these Venn diagrams, we're going to call these all, always, every. Those are the key words to look for in a problem that let you know a Venn diagram is going to look like this. So what that means is that P stands for some attribute or something that happens. Like say that is people who play the trombone. And there's all these people. That's why I'm putting little dots in here. These are all people who play the trombone. Now let's say that Q stands for something different. This is people who play an instrument. So here's some, these are piano players. Here's some saxophone players, some dots for them. Here's some guitar players. But guess what? The people who played the trombone, the ones who are in the smaller circle, they're still in this whole circle, right? That's why all, always, every. So what we're saying here is that everybody in this inside circle, every trombone player, also plays an instrument. So that's what's going on is we're going to put people or things into categories. And sometimes everything inside one category, like everything inside this circle, will also end up being inside the bigger circle. So how do we write that? We write that saying that P implies Q. Since P is the first thing, this is saying if you have quality P, then that implies you also have quality Q. So for my example, if you play the trombone, then yeah, you definitely play an instrument as well. Okay. Whoops. All right, now the next one is where the circles overlap sometimes. So let's say this is football players are P and basketball players are Q. So like over here some people who are good at football. Over here some people who like to play basketball. Guess what's in the middle? In the middle here. Not really in the middle because guess what? Those dots, whoops, not there. Those dots are they inside this circle for P? Yep, those red dots are. Are they inside this circle for Q? Yep, those red dots are. So they are both football players and basketball players. Now, what we do you see this little box at the bottom where it's for both? We're going to fill that one in, the little notation for it. We won't use this notation that often, but just so we know it, it's P and Q, saying they do both football and basketball. Hold up, I gotta run real quick. I'll be right back. I wish I knew how to pause this video. I just don't want my computer to die while I'm in the middle of it. So I'm looking for a charger. Oh, found one. All right, now on the outside there, we've got saying anybody who's in either one of the circles. So all the way across, saying they're in one circle or the other. So what we're saying is they either play basketball or they play football. And that means they could play both as well. But the way we write that is we write P or Q. So the V, this V, we're going to write it here. This V, I don't like yellow. That's too hard to read. This V here, this means or. And this upside down V, this means and. So one of them was both the people who play both this and that, football and basketball. And the other one is the people who either play football or basketball. All right, let's go on to the other one. And let's say that this is, what's a good one? This is chickens and cows. Yeah, that sounds good. So I know a bunch of chickens, so there they are. There's a whole bunch of chickens there in P. And then I also know a whole bunch of cows. There's some cows over there in Q. And guess what? There's not anything that is in both of them because I don't think there are any things that are chickens and cows. So nope, there are no chicken cows or cow chickens or whatever you want to call them. So no crossover between these two categories. No crossover whatsoever. All right, let's look at some problems. Now we're going to be drawing a Venn diagram for each of the situations below. So basically we're going to draw something that matches one of the three above, and it's got to describe the situation clearly. So this says some of the students who take chorus also take band. So we've got, what are our two categories? Our two categories, let's identify those first. Our two categories, I'm going to highlight them, are chorus, people who take chorus, and then also people who take band. So those are what our two circles are going to be. So here's maybe our circle for chorus. Chorus for that circle. Now it says some of the people in this circle have to be in the band circle as well. Not all of them, but some of them. So when I draw my band circle, I need to make sure I overlap it so that some of the dots, like if my people who take chorus, let's say they are they're orange people. My orange people take chorus. If I add all my orange people in here in the chorus circle, guess what? Some of them ended up in the band circle. Let's get rid of those orange people. Oh no, I like those orange people. So some of them ended up in the band, but not all of them. Okay, let's go on to the next one. No perfect squares are prime numbers. So what are our two categories? We're talking about perfect squares. Do you know what perfect squares are? Perfect squares. Well, what does it mean to square something in math? It means to multiply it by itself. Perfect squares are like 2 squared, which is 4. 3 squared, which is 9. 4 squared, which is 16. So like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Those are all perfect squares. And this is saying none of them are also, what's our other category? Prime numbers. And those are numbers where the only factors are the number and itself. So this actually makes sense because a perfect square, like 16, is 4 times 4. So it has a factor other than 1 in itself. 1 and 16 aren't the only things that go into it. 25 is 5 times 5. So it has a factor other than 1 and itself. So no perfect squares. So here's my perfect squares. I'll draw that category. I'm going to put the words inside this time. Perfect squares. No perfect squares are prime numbers. So if all my little perfect squares, let's say my perfect squares are pink, I got to make it so that none of these are going to end up inside the prime number circle. So I'm going to make sure my prime number circle better not touch that other circle. Here's my prime numbers. Prime numbers. So no overlap here. Okay. Let's skip down and let's do number 6 now. Let's go through number 6. So it says irrational numbers are never rational numbers. Okay, so one category I'm going to highlight again. Here's irrational numbers. Another category, rational numbers. A good review. Rational numbers are numbers where you can write them as A over B. And A and B are integers. So let's say something like 3 over 5. Or something like negative 23 over 97. Those are rational numbers. Now, irrational numbers are things that you can't do this with. So for instance, like square root of 2. This can't be just a number over another number, or pi. These are irrational numbers. Irrational because they make such rash decisions. No, that's just a joke. Okay, so we have a circle for irrational numbers. Irrational, you get the idea? Numbers. They all go in that circle. And guess what? None of them can be rational numbers. So the rational number circle better end up somewhere else. Rational numbers. Oh, easy enough. All right, let's go on to the next section. So in the next section, we have to shade the indicated region on the Venn diagram. So here's where we're going to have to look back up to what these things mean. So the first one's asking me to shade everything that is Q. So whatever Q is. So shade here, I see Q here. But guess what? Q is also in this overlap. These overlapping people, if all these are, I used red, so let's use red dots. So if all these are people, let's say P is, we'll go back to P is basketball, Q is plays football. All of these people, even if they're in the overlap, guess what? They play football. They're in the football circle. So that is all needing to be shaded. Let's skip down to number 10 right now because I want to remind you what this symbol means. So this symbol here, this squiggly, this was in our last section when we were doing converse, inverse, contrapositive. This means not, or to negate it. So if I say not Q, that means the opposite of Q. That means anything that's not inside Q. So let's see. This upside down V, if I scroll up, whoops, not like that. If I scroll up, I look and I say that means and. So this means, I'm going to read it out now. I need something that is in P and not in Q. I'm going to say that again. Think about that slowly. P and not in Q. So I need it to be in P, but not be in Q. Okay, so here's in P, here's in P. But if I cross over that edge right there, I'm going to go into Q. So I got to stop right there at that edge. Just shade this part of P right here. Oh, hey, because anything else I would be in Q. So I don't want to go any farther. All right, going well, going well. Let's see how much more we can get done. Next, describe each diagram using a conditional or compound statement. Conditional or compound statement. So let's do a few examples of this. What we are going to say, in this diagram, what do we notice? We notice we've got angles that measure 60 degrees. That's in here. And where are all of those angles? If I look back up to my first page, I see that when I have a picture like this, I'm using all or always or every. Those are key words. These words are very helpful. You want to keep those in mind. So all of the things in this small circle are inside the big circle. So this is saying, in this case, all of the angles that measure 60. Ooh, I'm going to need to type. Let me grab my keyboard. All right, let's see if the keyboard's ready to go. Nope, not yet. Turn on the keyboard. All right, this is going to make it a lot quicker here using the keyboard than trying to type by hand. So we're trying to say that all of the things in there, all angles, all the angles that measure 60 degrees are what? They're also inside of that bigger circle, so that all the angles that measure 60 degrees are also acute. A-C-U-T-E, angles. So this is a compound statement. This is one way to write it. Another way, we're going to write this a second way in here. I'll put it in a different color now. Let's put it in put it in red. So we're going to write it in if-then form as well. So if an angle measures 60 degrees, then what must be true? Then it is an acute angle. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Two ways to write that. Cool. Let's do number 13. So what this says in 13, let's look. We've got the shaded section is in between. The shaded section is in between. So we want to talk about these people. And what are these people in here? These people are people who what? Do they play volleyball? Do they take piano lessons? Do they do both? Do they do neither? I think that in there, those are in both circles. So that's going to be people who do both. But is it everybody does both? It's not. It's only some people. So all we can really say here is that, we'll go back to black for this. We can say some people play volleyball. Whoa. Some people play volleyball and take piano lessons. We can't say if you play volleyball, then you take piano, because not everybody over here in volleyball takes piano. And we can't say if you play piano, you take volleyball for the same, if you play piano, then you play volleyball for the same reason. But we can say some people play piano and take volleyball. So if we look back up, is that one of the keywords, some? Yeah, some, sometimes. That's what we're going to need a lot when we make statements about pictures like that. Now our final picture that we should do is let's see. Let's describe what's going on here in number 14. So in number 14 here, what do we got? We just have to describe the shaded region. So this circle here, if I was just describing this circle, well, I've already got that. I've already got the description of that circle. That circle is the months with 31 days. However, I don't want the whole circle. I want that circle, but I don't want these months in here. And what are these months? These months are months that start with J. So I want to know, I want this part, the part of that circle that does not end up in the other part. So as I'm writing my description here, I'm going to say that this is the months with 31 days. Oh, we're back to red. We don't want red. We want black. The months with 31 days, but not all of them. 31 days which do not start with the letter J. So that describes my shaded region. All right, one more here. Let's go down to this one. What is described in this picture? This is hard. This is describing all of these numbers that are multiples of 7, right? Even the ones that overlap over here. So all of these numbers that are even numbers. So there still could be some numbers that don't make it into any circle at all. We haven't really got that far to talk about that yet, but we need to describe what's going on. And if I look back, I'm going to look back up here again at my very first section of notes way at the top. So I scroll back up. Notice we said that when we're talking about the whole thing right here, I'm looking right here, we said or. So when we're looking at everything that's in both categories, we're looking at all of this or that. We want to know everything that is this or that. So let's go back down and I'll explain what I mean there. So in this picture, what I mean is that this shaded region is showing us numbers, all the numbers that meet the following condition. All the numbers that are multiples of 7 or even numbers. So it's numbers that are either that one, either multiples of 7 or they're even. That describes everything that's shaded. It's just about finding a way to kind of describe the shaded region. Okay, we're going to stop there. What I want you to do is, for your practice now in the rest of the class, is go back to the ones we skipped. Go back to the ones we skipped and do those ones. Do those ones. And then also, let me see. Actually, go ahead and let's just go Let's just do in the homework section, do up through number 14. We'll go back and do the ones we skipped some other time. See what you can do in numbers 1 through 14 in the homework section. And I'm going to leave an answer key there with your sub so that you can check it with him while you're working, or you can get help with him while you're working on it. All right, good luck. Have a great rest of class.